All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Strong Principles.
We're back. I am Rob Delacruz.
And I'm Larry Medina.
And I'm Zach Bragg.
And today we're going to be talking about intensification.
Yep. And so we call them intensification phases. And so an intensification phase is your normal baseline work is 5x5s, 3 sets of 10, that type of work there. Your big 6 fundamental movements you're constantly doing. Intensification phases. Now you're going and you're increasing the intensification. So what that means is you're adding. So for instance, there's a style called German body composition. And what it is it's circuits. So your normal 5 sets of 5 reps is you're going to go ahead and you're going to either do 1 movement or 2 movements, or you'll do 1 movement and then 2 movement, like whatever you're going to do. So let's say it's back squat. So you got 5 reps of 5 sets. So you're going to do your 5 reps at whatever percentage it is or whatever RPE, and you're going to rest a couple of minutes. And then you're going to kind of do that and you progress that. Or it would be like a superset where there's 2 different opposing muscle groups, 7 reps here, 7 reps there, and then you go ahead and rest 1 minute 30 to 2 minutes, possibly 3. An intensification phase, a lot of times the rest is less. It's much more intense. And sometimes the rep schemes are really high. So let's say, for instance, we just did one that was German body composition, who Charles Poliquin made it kind of famous. It was 3 to 6 exercises with almost no rest in between the exercise, like 30 seconds to a minute between exercises, but no rest between sets. So it's a circuit. And
okay.
So you kind of see like a lot of franchise models and stuff be like circuits, and like CrossFit workouts, Metcons are kind of like circuits. They're very intense. You're constantly moving through them. Well, those are great. And we usually use stuff on like phases, and then sometimes we'll use it in like individual workouts. So it's an intensification. They're great. People like them. They're fun to do. You really feel like you got a great workout. One, they usually mostly to all the time don't build strength. They can maintain strength if they're programmed right. They usually do build a form of work capacity, your ability to be able to move through things for like a period of time. And then they're not great for increasing and getting better movement mechanics.
Yeah. I think what you got to be careful of is a lot of times programs turn into just an intensification program because, like Rob said, they're fun. You feel like you got a great workout after. So the basic way I explain it to a lot of clients is if you will look at it from 2 simple basic, you got we'll call it an accumulation phase, which in that phase you're building a foundation. So you're building better strength, maybe hypertrophy. You're building better movement patterns. You're building better conditioning. And so what intensification then does, it should be followed by an accumulation phase. That just expresses that foundation that you've built. And so now you're building greater force. You're building greater speed. So it's kind of like the peak, like the tip of the iceberg. It's not the foundation. It's not the bulk. So if you have not gone into an accumulation phase where you've built your foundation up, intensification phases, they're not meant to be run for a long period of time. It's just a short phase that you'd go through. And there's lots of different examples of them, like Rob brought out GBC, drop sets, cluster sets. Oftentimes you think of drop sets or cluster sets or GBC. It's not as much rest, but you're expressing that foundation that you've already built up, and you're getting it better. You're making greater force, greater speed. And so you do see a lot of results from it, especially for somebody who's gone through an accumulation phase or like an athlete who has a really good base. And that's when it's really fun to train those types of guys because they already have such a good base. Then you see really the tip of the iceberg and how good of an athlete they are.
Now, I think both of you mentioned that a lot of times you'll have an intensification programming, and people think that, they get tricked almost, right? Where like it's a good, I'm building something, I'm getting something out of it rather than just burning calories, right? So why do you think we get tricked?
Well,
okay. How do you think we get tricked?
So there's a couple of things I'm going to kind of get into on that. One is like a lot of us fell for it. I've fallen for it too. It's an effort, all right? It could be the latest franchise models. CrossFit did it. They did a really good job at it. All those. You're kind of like you're testing things you've already built.
Yeah.
Right? It's really fun. You put a lot of effort. You feel like you've done a lot, and you feel like it's doing a lot for you. Now, if you already have a big base, you get more out of it. But they plateau real easy. They can cause really quick overuse injuries. And then a lot of times you'll go backwards with those. So what happens is someone does it and it's really fun and they think, and it feels like it's doing so much more. And so then that's what they think they should do all the time. And then instead of like a workout once in a while or a small phase, you don't want, like, those things are meant to like intermittently like kind of test things and use for a little while and see like a little bit of results. They're never meant to go ahead and live in them.
Yeah, I think we're tricked by the short-term stimulus that a lot of people get from them. And so like you go through a very intense workout where you say you're in intensification phase and you go through 1 or 2 weeks of that and they're like, wow, I feel really good. I'm leaving the gym. I feel like I went really, really hard. And then they fall in love with that feeling. And trainers do too, because especially a one-on-one trainer, you get a client that comes in, you want them to feel like they're getting the most for their money. So you want them to leave tired and worn out and beat up. But in reality, like Rob said, it's just a short-term stimulus and it's going to be a very short-term game that can oftentimes have a negative effect if prolonged. And so what happens oftentimes, okay, we go through GBC, for example, which GBC you're moving from upper to lower body. Okay, we did 20 pounds on a row. We did 50 pounds on a squat. And then we're going to, you fall into that habit. You just stay there. All of a sudden, 3 months later, you're just moving the same exact weights, or if not less, your body's a little bit more beat up. And it's like, okay, that short-term stimulus that you got, that good feeling that you got, produced some very short-term effects. And now you're not seeing a good prolonged progression like we want because you didn't work in an accumulation phase. You didn't work in a more foundation work.
And often what would happen with people is they see results. And it's usually really quick too. It's like a shorter workout a lot of times. And they see results really fast. But those results are short.
Yeah.
They don't last that long.
It's just like following a semi-okay diet, right? Like you'll see like quick results and then it plateaus quickly.
Well, like I would say more like following an extreme diet that you see like an extreme result really quickly.
Yeah.
And then your body's going to adapt to like cutting the calories really bad and doing a ton of cardio with it. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how much calories you cut and how much more you add to like your movement, you don't lose any weight.
That's actually a great example. Yeah. Yeah. It's really short, intense diet. All of a sudden you see all this results real fast, but then your metabolism slows down.
So then you try to go back to it. You do it harder.
And then you try to cut more calories.
Harder.
You try to go, and it's like, all right, my body's not changing anymore. And that's because you went way too intense, way too fast for too long.
I mean, like think about, because you got a lot of experience in CrossFit. I mean, those Metcons are really potent. They're very potent. And so you get a lot of benefits, a lot of results in the beginning, and everything works in the beginning. But you do them for a long time. They're barely good at maintaining strength. They're not very good at like getting better at movement mechanics. They're not very good at gaining strength.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, for me, like with those, what ended up happening to me was, I fell in love with it, right? Like I fell for the cult as a cult member, if you will. And we were basically, they were like, don't bench. Okay, cool. Dumb. Don't curl. Okay, cool. Yeah, like I don't know why you wouldn't, because like there's so many little tendons that you want to work through, right? So a curl is hitting different tendons that you wouldn't hit with a pull up. And so like I get the functional fitness and all that other stuff. So it put light into a lot of things in my opinion, but it did a lot of damage in the long run, because like even for me,
built a lot of imbalances.
Yeah, 100%. Like I could tell you, like it definitely showed me my weaknesses later when I got injured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and if I would have went slower, more methodical, not just like, oh, here's a WOD. Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and do that. I'd be in a better spot.
Yeah. Not just to pick on CrossFit, but like any of the latest franchise models, we can go down the line or some boot camps. And what happens is you're kind of like being intense. You're doing a lot of movement. And the more you get fatigued, the more likelihood of something going wrong happens a lot of times. And also you got to realize when that heart rate is up and that movement is high, that strength signal is low. And so.
Yeah. If your heartbeat's like 150, I don't know that you should be squatting 225 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like, I completely like and understand the ability for people to have the ability to be able to operate under fatigue. I just don't think you should be there very often.
Not all the time. Yeah.
No, not at all. But like in intensification case, there's something like we use too. It's called cluster sets. Now, the cluster set would say we're going to do 10 reps. But if I did all 10 reps and then rested, I would burn up and I can only use so much weight. The percentages or RPE wouldn't be very high. But what if I did 3 reps with 15 to 20 second rests? 3 reps, 15. So now I'm doing 10 reps, but my percentages are high. So I'm getting a lot of quality work in there. So that's a really good intensification
phase.
Method. Yeah. Or method, phase method. But you don't want to sit there for very long. One, you burn up the nervous system really quick.
Yeah.
2 is that's a lot of load over and over again. And that's a really good intensification method.
I think where a lot of people got when we were talking about like tricked or confused or fell in love with it is the fact that, and again, like Rob said, we're not trying to pick on CrossFit, but it's just a good example, is you had all these athletes on TV and they got really good, really, really fast. And it's like, you're looking at them and you're like, oh, they got in great shape by doing this. But what you didn't realize is that 90% of them were in the gym for many years before that, following like a traditional strength program, or many of them were football players or firefighters, or a lot of them had a base already. They are
huge base.
They were building up a base for all that period of time. Then when CrossFit came out, they were in this intensification phase, which expresses that base that you already have, and they got in great shape, right? So it's like we talked about, you're going to see results from that. And so they were great athletes for that. But then you get somebody who's never been in a gym before, who just walks in the gym and it's like, okay, I can do that. I need to do that. And that's what's going to get me in shape. But you're missing that foundational piece that you need.
Not only that, but what you missed that nobody ever talked about was the extra work that they put in.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just that hour.
Yeah.
It was that hour plus their own programming, which is probably
they did a bunch of prehab work. They did a bunch of maybe strength training. Like they did a lot of other stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
They're
don't
in there
see
for about
all that,
4 hours.
especially when it comes to like the CrossFit thing. But so, I mean, we even deal with it. We just came out of an intensification phase using German body composition. People loved it. We did 4 weeks. I didn't want to do it. I was undecided if I was going to do 3 to 4. We did 4 weeks. That's great. Our normal training phases are around 6. Just once in a while, we might go a little longer, but not much. We came out of it and like there's some people I was like, I loved it. I felt like we were getting so much done. Why don't we do these all the time? Boom. That's what happens. Is you felt like you're doing so much and you were getting some good results because it's a different stimulus. So your body reacts to that. But what you didn't realize is like, if we kept on doing that, 1, we're most likely going to see overuse issues. 2, your nervous system, you're going to feel fatigue too often. 3 is that we're not going to see strength increases. We're going to see like degradation of movement. So you run into those. That's why like they're good to throw in intermittently, like in the small phase or in the workout once in a while, but you don't want to sit in them for long.
So I know we're talking about intensification overall, but if I'm a normal person, what should be my end goal from a fitness perspective?
Well, movement qualities are always better movement quality. And then like most people nowadays and for general population are always trying to increase their strength. And you're trying to increase your strength in your fundamental movement patterns, which would carry over most functional for you to be able to like everyday life. And that's what you're trying to do. Yeah. And that's where most people need to be and most people need to sit. Now, there's a lot of different ways to make the classic training and your base building a little more fun. And that's just by exercise pairing, how you set it up, what exercises are you using? You can definitely do that. Also, the thing is people think things, if you think something works really well, that's why you like it so much. But if you realize it's not working that well, you might not like it as much. And you might like something that you consider boring, but you're seeing such good results. You might like get into it a little more.
So that's where communication is so big with your clients, and especially in a one-on-one setting. And that's why it's so easy to fall into if you're a one-on-one trainer. Like I talked about earlier, you want your clients to feel like they're getting the most for their money. So a lot of trainers just end up beating up, or maybe you have an athlete that came in who you got to start working with and they have a good base, and then you just fall in love with this intensification phase because they're seeing these great short-term results. And so you keep going with it. But like Rob said, ultimately, you want to move better. You want to live a better life. You want to prevent injury as much as possible. All that comes from having a really good foundation, a really good accumulation phase. And it doesn't come from the intensification period, which you should go through every now and again, but you got to have that good foundation.
So I'll give you like a scenario too, is whenever we've gotten people in that are used to like a boot camp or some franchise model that they're very intense all the time, they rarely move well and they're rarely strong. So then when we first start working with them, the first thing you're going to do is like, hey, you're doing 5 reps of this, whatever, bench press squat or whatever, and we're going to rest 2 minutes. They totally feel like they're not doing enough.
They feel like they're not doing anything. Yeah.
And they're not. And Larry, they're not at all because you're not very strong.
Yeah, you're not strong enough.
But you get a guy that can squat 400 pounds. When he does 5 reps, he wants his 2 to 3 minute rest. So we got to get you stronger, because if we go and we do stuff in between, now we're kind of blunting that signal. Once you're strong, everything becomes more potent, including your conditioning.
Yeah.
So now you're strong. Now you use a lot of energy. Now when you go to your conditioning, it's much more potent. You're using more energy.
Much more effective. Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that. Like, as far as like, if you have more muscle, obviously it's going to take up a lot more oxygen to work through whatever aerobic exercise you're doing.
Yeah.
So in turn, you are burning more muscle,
and
burning more energy, burning more fat.
Yeah.
Burning more calories.
You produce a lot more force. You're stronger. You produce a lot more force. You go faster. You're a lot stronger. You create a lot more intensity in a shorter period of time. So, but like Rob said, that is one thing that we do run into a lot, is that people come off a certain program that was maybe just very intense all the time. Maybe it was a camp, whatever it was. And then you throw them into a workout that's like a strength workout, and they could fly right through it, because it's like, my heart rate never got up, because you're set up for that. You've just done a bunch of intense working out for the past 2 years or however long.
Loads are not very heavy either.
Yeah. And so that's, again, why communication is so important, explaining to them where they're at right now. And we have to change that over time in order to make you better.
And also, Larry, I rarely see the people that come from those models, rarely, like sometimes, actually have true work capacity. The ability to move through things over and over again, not just conditioning, but weights and everything else, like true work capacity. And then they wonder, like, well, I don't actually have that much endurance. As
because you never built it up.
Correct.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's a useful tool.
Okay.
Just don't be married to it.
Yeah, just don't be married to it.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.
It's been
strong
Have a great day.
principles.